Hello, good people of the internet. Today we're playing Synergy, which is a city building game set in the aftermath of something. And it's a bit like Frostpunk, but not as hard. Maybe a bit like Surviving the Aftermath, but not as, I don't know, venture-outy. There are expeditions. Let's jump into a game. This is one which I've already been playing for a bit. And it has a really interesting mechanic surrounding the plant life, which we will get into. This is actually the first story mission, which I started and maybe didn't complete, but it was a save I had, which I thought would work. Basically, as a city builder, you're trying to grow and do whatever it tells you to do. And so there are quests that it's doing. Effectively, we started out with nothing. You have to, first of all, get a water supply going. And there is this kind of toxic-y water, which you can build a pontoon. You need to assign people to your buildings. And this tells you that it's going to, in 2 days, produce 10 toxic water, which makes sense. It's at 50% efficiency, so if you had 4 citizens, you'd have more coming in. But I felt that this was all I needed at some point, so that's what I've done. In fact, it says that we have requested 2 extras, but we don't actually have any people spare, so not a problem, I guess. In fact, we could reduce it down because it's not a problem at the moment. It will become a problem with the weather coming up, and there are seasons and cycles we'll get into. You have to then purify that toxic water, and you can then store it in these water towers, and this can store up to a certain amount, but it's got some clean and some toxic. And your people will drink, obviously, clean water. If you run out of clean water, they start to get ill, as you might expect, and then you need to make sure that they are catered for with the infirmary. Lots of these things you don't, well, you'll definitely start out with the water and houses and stuff early on. And then, as with any decent city building game, it's all about resource gathering. And the main way that you do that is with the plant life. And so there are these picker cabins that you start with. And there are these various plants in the world. So this is a petrified giant. And at the beginning you start, well, there are various actions you can perform on these plants, but you start with none of this information. So the first thing you have to do, and it has popped up at the exact right time, is to analyze all of your plants. So you can see we've just analyzed this hatted tree, and you won't have access to all of these abilities at the beginning, but these are the actions that you can take with this tree, and you can get different resources out. So if you were to rip out the tree, which is actually removing it, you would get some number of this. Does it tell you what it is? It doesn't, but it's that thing. If you prune it, you get plant fiber. If you notch it, and it tells you. Does it tell you what it is? It doesn't here, but it tells you in other places what notching is. It's drilling into it. Then you can get resin, which makes sense. If you drill into a tree, you can get resin. And also you can try and seed scatter, which says gives you seeds, but also it attempts to proliferate plant in some way. Not quite sure. And that applies not just to one tree, but many trees. So this is the building here, the field laboratory. Again, it says I've requested more people to stay there, but I haven't. And you send people out to go investigate your plants, to do a surface analysis. So we could send someone to go look at these plants here. I don't actually need to, because I've already sent them to, well, I will be sending them to go investigate that plant. And when they get there, they will learn about these things. If you've unlocked the actions. If you haven't unlocked the actions, it just has a question mark. So there is a knowledge book here. So here are all the plants in the game. And we'll go through a couple of the effects as well. I'm just trying to see if there's one where I hadn't worked out everything. I thought there was, but apparently... Anyway, apparently not. If it will appear as a question mark in one of these slots, and it won't tell you what it is. In fact, there was maybe the straw tree. Did I see that before? No. Apparently I was making it up. Never mind. I've paused it because I mentioned there were expeditions in the game, and we have an expedition, so we'll do it. I sent these guys out to do something or other. I can't remember what. And it says they're trapped in the mud. I think I sent them to explore maybe a new area. Makes sense. Approaching on an area green, explorers don't find the gardens they hope for, but a village drowned in some stinking bog. Silence is sickening, and there is nothing to indicate anything could survive here. The place could clearly make anyone very ill. Should they not take precautions? Among the abandoned buildings, the explorers spot a cellar, as well as a few houses, the roofs of which are still resistant to humidity. The largest building is adorned with rusty machines. After a closer look, it actually seems to be partially flooded lumber mill, maybe still repairable. And you get some choices, some of which are locked off to you. So if you have got far enough into the tech tree and have done this woodworking project, then you would be able to repair it, and you maybe would then get extra wood resources. I don't know. And this, opening the cellar is a dice roll, so it's a random result, maybe good, maybe bad. Maybe there's a zombie in there, I don't know. But I haven't seen any zombies in this game. There are other people out in the world, you're not the only survivors. Or if you had protective gear, which we don't, then you could gear up to explore the buildings. So maybe it's risky to open the cellar, but we could search the houses. And we have 2 explorers who have fallen sick, but we have gained protective gear and tools, which is useful. So that was me. This is the world map. This is where exploration happens. So if we close this, this is just this menu here. And to actually do that, you need to build first a building, the Explorer's Hut, which also you need to research. And we'll get to research in a second. There's another alternative way to getting through that. So this is the world. You only can have 1 expedition at a time. And you have to unlock regions as you go. So having explored this region, I'm now touching some more regions. So I could go explore these areas if I wanted to. If it would let me. No. Apparently I can click on that one, but I can't click on that one. Interesting. I mean, it tells you which ones are accessible. It's inaccessible because we need a sand glider garage to explore this area. Fine. At least it tells you, which is nice. To explore an area, you must send 4 people, but if you're going to explore a different location on the map with something happening, then you can choose to send between 4 and 10. I have 0 people available. I think I sent, well, I was exploring this area, so maybe it's 8 people. Oh yeah, 4 people. And the more people you send, the more rations and water you have to take with you, which makes sense. But also it increases the transportation capacity. So you can bring back more goodies from your expeditions, but you can also, if there is any optional tasks, then it will happen a lot quicker. The closer things are, so this takes 3 days to get to this thing. This one over here takes 4, 8 days. So the further away things are, the longer it takes. And as you can see, your people can get sick. Or I had 2 people die on an expedition, so it's not all plain sailing. Anyway, that's going to take them 12 days to return. We're going to unpause that now. And keep talking about the game. So we have talked about the field laboratory and how it opens up plants or whatever. And we also have all our houses complaining that there's not enough food. Water. There is plenty of water. However, they get their water from this cellar, which, as you can see, only has a small amount. I would think maybe these houses could get them directly from the water tower. I'm not quite sure why, but it seems to be, in this game at least, or the way that I have set up this village, there is a lot of transportation required. And even though I have this building, which is called the Assignment Tower, which has 10 people who are supposedly specialists and can carry twice as many resources, I am struggling. It's complaining some transportation requests are never performed. So, I mean, this inventory is full, which is maybe why clean water isn't getting here. If I I don't know how to fix that. Maybe I need to create another cellar, or, you know, my small warehouse. Why are they not storing them there? Maybe they can't store that sort of thing there. So maybe I should just create another cellar. And let's do that. So here is the build menu. And you can see, I think you can just scroll through every single building possible, or you can narrow it down to the individual categories. So there is roads, which help with speed, and you can research and unlock more roads, and we'll get into research in a second a bit. Of course. There are houses, as you might expect. People need to live in houses. And there are 3 houses here, but they are all the same, except for the materials required to build them. At least I think they're the same. I can't see anything which says otherwise. Storage things, so whilst we're explaining, we could get another cellar. Is it going to help us really? I don't know. In fact, we've got this building which is waiting to be built as well. Where should we put this? That doesn't quite cover those. I don't know. Choosing where to put things is not my forte. We could put it next to the other one, because that's a terrible place to put it. So why not? That requires bark and rocks, of which you can see we have 170 in stock and 121 in stock. So yeah, we seem to have like a kind of people shortage. So if we're overbuilding on some things, then I should reduce that. And we're clearly getting too many watery pods. And I think I had my watery pod collectors out in the sticks here. So we can reduce the number of people. And maybe that'll free up someone else, and maybe some transportation will be better. In fact, these people are doing a lot of picking of berries and stuff as well. So we will tell them to reduce their efforts. And maybe that will help. Anyway, so builders as well come from your people, as you might expect. So you have jobs, everyone's assigned to a job. Not everyone. You assign people to jobs. So we have one person assigned to this purification basin. We have, you don't need them in storage. We don't have anyone in the infirmary at the moment because I haven't requested it. We probably don't need so many making food. I don't know. It's good. Happy with that. But anyone spare who's not assigned to a job will then be doing other tasks. Other tasks include transporting things around, although your assignment tasks are a specialist in that, and also building things. So the fact that there's no one to build this is a problem. So we can make that high priority, and maybe that means someone will come and do that. There's also a cellar over here with loads and loads of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if there is a way to say, oh, I don't want any more of these, don't put any more of these here. But anyway, I don't want them to start clearing it out either. This game, I should probably mention, is an early access. Key was kindly provided. And therefore, the devs are very responsive. I created a couple of bug requests, which, okay, one of them is a bug, and 2 of them were not bugs. They were just maybe poor UI, but they have said they will improve those things. Anyway, maybe that will get built at some point. Maybe things will get better. Maybe they will stop running out of water because of that. Who knows? Sure. So we, at some point, were talking about plants. We were talking about the types of plants that people can get, or the goods that they can get from them, and that requires different actions. So we've got these people picking, and you can see what they're picking from what is highlighted. If it's in the slightly darker green, that means this place is doing this action. If it's in a lighter color, so over here we have these kind of people trimming, then that is a different place, and it's actually this hut here, which is doing the trimming of all these things. Now, it would be better to have this. Well, I was talking game, but fine. We'll talk about the expedition return. It just gives you the screen. We already know the results. It's giving us protective gear and tools, which is good for next time when we don't have protective gear. But some of them got sick. So really, we need to move them to the infirmary. And we just received a whole bunch of people back, so I'm hoping there's actually going to be space. There's no available citizens, which is worrying. I think we only need one person. But we should go remove people. So this is a research place and this is a research place. I'm not quite sure why it was so full. And this has run out of toxic water, so maybe I could do with someone else on this. We might as well remove... I think maybe when I've loaded in my save, it has put people in places where I didn't need them. So there's maybe something dodgy there, which has happened with the save, which has slightly ruined how this has gone. But never mind. The infirmary... No? Anyone? And this is high priority, so they're building that. It's interesting. So this guy's the guy with poison. And when you're poisoned, it tells you what's happening. All contact with the toxin must be avoided. Okay. But he can be healed in the infirmary. If there was someone staffing the infirmary, which there isn't. I am at a loss to where all these people are. They're doing other tasks. Let's remove one of you so that it builds slightly slower. There we go. There's someone in there. We don't have purifying remedies, apparently. Because, slightly annoyingly, the game decides that if there's no one staffing it, that they don't need any of the things stored in there. So now we're going to have to wait for people to come and deliver stored goods. Here we go. Someone has delivered the thing we didn't need. That treats wounds. This one absorbs toxins. Someone's now delivered that. So, I mean, deliveries are happening. And now, hopefully, this guy is going to the infirmary. Excellent. The system works. Hopefully, this guy too. And it even tells you there are 2 citizens in poor health, but they're both being healed. And they will take 6 days to be healed. If there were more than 2, I'd put another person in here, and it would give me 2 extra slots. Great. The situation may be improving because this has now got water back, toxic water, whatever it is. Right, I can get back to explaining this. So these guys are picking. It would be good, really, as I was trying to explain, if they didn't have to walk all the way over here. However, they can only do one action. So you can edit this. I can say, actually, I don't want to, even though he's doing this tree, I can remove this tree. I can add this one, just to be, we can add trees like this, and then you can remove them in the same way. You can choose which ones they do. However, because these are people doing picking, then I've got them doing it from here. And so they're coming out over to here. And there are different plants, and different plants give you different things, so that's why you want to do that. So as a reminder, you have this knowledge, book of knowledge, or you can just click on a plant. We're picking this cabbage shrub because it gives us the vegetables. Again, it doesn't tell you clicking on it. And it gives you some... what does it call that? I don't know. It stopped telling me what it is. Rotten resources, I think is what it calls it. I was going to try and find it. It's in here. Rotten resources. It did. It does, and I got it completely correct. Whereas picking these petrified giants give you mushrooms. And picking the straw trees give you the berries, which, we now know that I have way too many berries. Watery pods. I'm going to call them berries. And you need those things to make food. You need food to make your people happy. So you have the forge here. But there are also other things that you need to do. So there's this forge. And you can make tools from the forge by turning water and stone into tools. However, you have a choice with these things because you don't have to use water and stone. You could choose water, stone, and thorns. So if you have thorns, lots of excess thorns, and you could do that. Or you could use branches watering thorns if you don't want to use your rocks. Or you could use branches and water. And, you know, there'll be different quantities, and I don't know about efficiencies and times. I'm not sure if I've seen that yet. And the same for the kitchen. So you don't have to make this food. You can make different food. So you could choose to make raw oatmeal if you have excess seeds and water. Or if you have mushrooms, you can make mushroom soup. Etc, etc. Again, I don't think there are any specialties because they all just get turned into simple dishes. Just double checking. Yes. And so it tells you that the food, simple dishes, well, if you don't have simple dishes, your people will eat the basic foodstuffs. It fills their hunger gauge by 20%. And therefore, if you bear with me. So yes, if you allow them to do that, then they will use up maybe 3 times as much of the ingredients. However, you're already using up 3 times as much of the ingredients to make this thing, so is there really a difference? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter that you're cooking the meals. Maybe they prefer it. I think that comes into the people's happiness. So if you click on the houses, the people living there get bonuses from what is around them. They have 4 statistics: well-being, social, culture, and knowledge. And these are all boosted in some way, and each then gets a score, and the score is then maybe put into your city prosperity, and this is your city score, and this is your people's happiness. Okay, people aren't that happy, they're quite low down, but this is, you know, relatively early on into the level. Maybe not early into the level, but early on into the game, let's say. So their well-being, does it tell you what each gives them? No, doesn't. But I have a feeling not being fed would reduce their well-being. In fact, we were talking about different things down here before. And we'll talk about new cycles in a second. This game has a lot of content, is what I'm trying to get at. There is this well-being section. So healthcare is important. If they're ill, their well-being goes down. But it also, it gives them, it says there, modifies within range. This is like on the pop-up halfway down. I can't, you know, show you it with my pointer because it's requires hovering. Anyway, modifies within range, +2 well-being per affected citizen. So that is telling you this thing within this range, you can just see this faint outline, gives these houses +2 to well-being. That's just the person who works there. So the fact they have a score of 5 means something else is giving them things to well-being. A well would give them +5. A sun awning gives them +3, so I've built a sun awning. What else? They have social, and we have a cultural square that we're trying to make into a social district. But actually, I think it is the canteen. And again, you can click down here to see, maybe better. Modifies within range, +5 to social and +2 to knowledge. Is that? Yes, or culture. I think it's culture. So all these houses then have a boost to their knowledge and culture. Social and culture. And similarly, so, you know, you can get these bonuses and it makes them happier, and happier people do better things. Gives you a better score. I don't know. Do they work faster? Who knows? Having all those excess people has definitely helped the distribution problem. We can maybe put some people back into research, but we weren't actually researching anything anyway. We are actually in a temperate season. However, we have 3 upcoming dry seasons, so it might be wise to tell the forge to stop whatever it is they're doing, even though I probably should look to see how close it was to finishing. And then we want to have people creating water. Actually, at this time you can see it's 20, but in a dry season, it tells you hard times looming, and surviving them will require us to have our wits about us. Most plants wither during the season, so plants will either produce less resources or whatever. Purification basins dry out with the heat. And what that really means, it doesn't actually say it in that menu, but we're producing 20 from 20 toxic water, but actually we'll only produce 10 from the same amount of toxic water, although this one has just run out of water stored in it, because we don't have any spare, so it's worth having an extra person there anyway. So we really do need to building up our water. The other thing that I have not actually looked at yet, you get more types of analysis for your field laboratory. So I've been talking about surface analysis, which is telling us which actions do what, but there is also analysis that you can do. So we can tell them to analyze these things. Which I assume will start telling you about the behaviors and impacts, or the needs that they have. So whether they prefer being in the hot and the cold, or if they like being shaded, or if they like being near water. And these things you can view on the views section. So there is a temperature. So everything is roughly, well, 46, 48. So it's slightly cool over here, which is why I built this over here. I had extra houses and a cellar over here, because in the hot season, it gets too hot for people and they start getting heat stroke. Unless you have shaded areas. So there is shadow. And this is showing the shadow value, so I don't actually have any shadows. I did add a sun awning hoping that it would counter shadow, but it doesn't apparently. But 1 is shadow and 0 is sunny. I think they maybe need to fix that within the early access thing. But there's, various shade, and that kind of corresponds maybe to where things are cooler. But you may then find out that plants over here prefer it in the cooler air compared to being somewhere else. Humidity as well maybe has a factor, because this is near water. Has a factor for the plants, but maybe the people, I don't know, maybe there's a wet season. I haven't quite worked it out. And minerals as well. Minerals 10, 22. I don't know. These are things I haven't really got to in the game. At least not too much yet. There are caves. Let's turn off this filter. Can say goodbye to that. Oh, and there's an advanced display. If you hit tab, it just tells you how many people are working in each building, which I'm sure is useful. And tells you as well which plant you're picking. Maybe not. Yes, research. We haven't talked about research. So you start with a research building. Well, you don't actually start with it. You have to build it. And then you access the research tree. Now, I do have a slight gripe with the research tree. One of the things you can get early on in the research tree, not the stone house, it's this Hall of Wisdom. And this then allows you to do cultural research, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's good to have another building which opens up more research. That's definitely good. The problem is the way it's displayed on this graph, which looks cool. I like how it looks. Obviously, you can see where things are taking you. So you have to explore the arboriculture workshop before you can do things like plant reintroduction, which unlocks buildings like a plant nursery to do planting, and you have to do that before you can do autonomous gardening, refining, whatever that is, or mineral enhancer soil modification stuff. You have to do tool production before you can get a market square, and you have to do that before you can do textiles and have a weaver's workshop. That all makes sense. However, it isn't clear which one is a science research and which one is a cultural research. And sometimes I think they're not 100% correct. Anyway, for example, is this a good example? Archaeology. It also doesn't tell you which one is which, as far as I can tell. It doesn't tell you on here, unless you have one in progress, and then you start, it will then tell you that you can't start it because you have one of those type, like cultural or technological, in progress. There's a lot on the tree, And you'll notice that there are these little pips on some of these items. And when you're exploring or on expeditions, you can get tablets. And the tablets allow you to unlock these hidden nodes, which are kind of extra enhancements. So as an example, for the pontoon, I think it starts with maybe one of these, or both of them. But you can then do mushroom oxidation, which gives you a new recipe for the purification basin. And, you know, the recipe, if you can't remember what I'm talking about, is this thing here. So we have just settling treatment at the moment, which is taking toxic water and turning it into normal water. But there is another one, apparently, which I haven't unlocked. Oh yeah, I forgot I haven't unlocked it. What does that one count as? I couldn't tell you because I don't know. But I could start the research. In fact, having someone in your research building whilst you have no research going is a bad idea. In any game, there's no UI thing at the moment telling me this is a bad idea. Yes. I guess whipping gourd is an example of a plant where if you do some actions, it will hurt you. Also, see hydra trees, which will hurt you, but you get seeds. So maybe if you really wanted seeds, then you could do this, but it will hurt you. And with this action, there are plenty of other things where you can do that instead. I've been talking for half an hour, and I probably haven't covered everything this game has to offer. There are caves. I mentioned there are caves, which you have to unlock through research, apparently. And that comes down in this corner, does it? Oh yeah, it's that thing. Is it? I don't know. No, it's here. So, you can start the research, but it requires protective gear, which I didn't have until that expedition, so now I could start doing it. So what does it do? An arranged cave has a capacity and it produces fungus and stone. So there you go. Maybe it also counts as shade and shadow. That should be a good research, so we'll click that. And now you can see this is a cultural research, which I guess kind of makes sense in the sense that people have to go into the cave and make it look nice. Like, there's no technology to that, but there kind of is, because it was saying that they could easily collapse. So it's not just a cultural thing, it's a technological thing, and that they have to build some supports there. But then I guess maybe they know how to build buildings, they can build supports in a cave. So yeah, it's maybe, who knows. What more is there to say? I don't know. This is a city builder. It's early access, as I mentioned. If you've been watching this far, you've probably liked the video, so please leave a like. It will really help, and maybe subscribe, because I will then endeavor to do more content like this. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day wherever it is you are.